You guys are watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, and how can we not start with anything other than the biggest story in the NFL, the one that is the only one that really matters in the end in terms of life and everything. Damar Hamlin, update on him for you guys. He remains in critical condition after his cardiac arrest event during the Bengals-Bills game. Good news, this is really good news, it does sound like Hamlin is making progress. Now, Hamlin does have still a fairly long journey ahead of him. As I'm sure you all know by now, he took a hit to the chest, and that managed to stop his heart, and he collapsed on the field. They had to resuscitate him. They were able to do so, thankfully. Continue to keep him in your thoughts, prayers, whatever you choose to do to help keep Hamlin in mind, help his family, whatever that is, so whatever you're comfortable with, please continue to do so. The latest update as we sit here filming this at 5:15 Eastern Time from the Bills is that Damar remains in the ICU. He's at the University of Cincinnati Hospital. It's a good hospital, by the way. Critical condition with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. That's really good news. He is expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. And Cameron Wolf, I'll talk with Damar Hamlin's uncle, Dorian Glenn, said his nephew's on a ventilator, but he's improved to 50% oxygen needed after being at 100%, which is really a good sign that his lungs are heading in the correct direction. The updates that have come from Hamlin's family and friends have not specified what those positive signs were, but whatever they were that they're getting them is really good news for Damar Hamlin, and I hope nothing more that he continues to make those positive progress steps in the correct direction. We will keep you guys updated, of course, on Hamlin and thoughts and prayers that it continues to move in that correct direction. We'll move now to Lamar Jackson and where things sit with the Ravens franchise quarterback. He is still not practicing at this point for the Ravens. He continues to battle that knee injury. Now, I will say this is about the quote-unquote expected normal time. The Ravens are pretty vague with that knee injury in terms of when he would be back, but the normal sprains are 6 to 8 weeks for what he was allegedly suffering from, and now we're at the 6-week window, so 4 to 6, somewhere in that range, always seems to make sense. He continues to battle a knee injury. It is unclear if and when, however, Lamar Jackson will return, which is concerning for the Ravens, who have clinched a playoff spot, but have not played good offensive football. Without Lamar Jackson, they've scored 10 points in a win, 16 points in a win, 3 points in a loss, 17 points in a win, 13 points in a loss. That's not good offensive production. That's actually bottom tier offensive output. Now, the supporting cast for Tyler Huntley is not great, but he's also not Lamar Jackson. He's not an NFL MVP quarterback who in a down year for the Ravens was still putting up awesome numbers, was approaching once again, was probably going to surpass again the 1,000-yard rushing mark. He was having success through the year. Lamar Jackson is the engine that runs and carries and does everything for the Ravens offense. They need him back out there as soon as possible. But it is interesting to see Lamar, who battled injury last year, once again battling injury this year. And there has been, I'll call it more speculation of, is Lamar making some business decisions? He could miss the rest of the season with that knee injury and still become one of the highest paid quarterbacks if he were to hit free agency. The Ravens and Lamar have not made great progress in terms of the contract negotiations, so we're going to have to see where things sit at this point for Lamar Jackson and going forward, but that's more of a future conversation. So will Lamar Jackson be back for the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, Y or N. Let's hit Sam Howell, as he is the new Commanders starting quarterback. Week 18 does not matter for Washington. They had made the switch from Taylor Heinicke to Carson Wentz for the season finale, or for the Week 17 game. Again, they had to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, which apparently nobody told Ron Rivera, so that's interesting. Wentz was, well, he was Carson Wentz when it was all said and done. He simply did not play that well. Heinicke was in line to start. The Commanders are out of it. Allegedly, Heinicke said, Sam Howell can step in, give him a shot. He showed some flashes in the preseason, 3 total scores. He got the first team reps with the ones today. He is going to start for the Commanders. We'll see if we see any of Heinicke. I am very curious how Howell fares. That sounds normal, right? But regardless, Commanders still probably in the quarterback market again this offseason. Now, you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions when the actual total cost goes to $200 plus. That's right, folks. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month on subscriptions you didn't even know about. There's this app I love using that takes care of that for me. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you were double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money right now. Go to rocketmoney.com/NFL Daily. That's rocketmoney.com/NFL Daily. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. So check it out. Make sure you're saving some money and not getting double charged or paying for stuff you don't want anymore. rocketmoney.com/NFL Daily. Let's move to Derek Carr once again, where it is, I think, very clear at this point. Derek Carr's done with the Raiders, and the Raiders are done with Derek Carr. That relationship has soured, which of course it was. They benched him instead of letting his contract potentially guaranteed due to injury. He remains away from the Raiders, which I get. Jarrett Stidham showed some good things, but it's also Jarrett Stidham, so let's not get too excited there. The question becomes this now: the Raiders are in full-fledged offseason mode. Will they cut Derek Carr to save a bunch of money, or will they find a trade partner? Now, the contract breaks down as such. Derek Carr is owed $34.9 million, rounding there, in 2023 if he stays with the Raiders. Because the contract does not, base salary-wise, not guarantee until February 15th, they would save $29.25 million with a cut or a trade of Derek Carr. The new team would owe Derek Carr $33 million. He would have the base salary of $32.9 million guaranteed, a $100,000 workout bonus that he'd get, so $33 million, that's the math right there. $7.5 million of next year's contract would guarantee. We've seen Carson Wentz twice now be traded for not that dissimilar contract-wise, a little bit less this past year, but similar money, and Carr is way better than Carson Wentz. So I would expect the Raiders to find a trade partner. I don't know what the cost would be, but there's a lot of teams that need a quarterback, right? The Jets would be a playoff team if they had Derek Carr. I think the Commanders might have been. The Colts have been searching for a competent quarterback for years now since Andrew Luck left. I don't think it's throughout the Panthers would end up pursuing, but I don't think Sam Darnold's that great. I think Carr is better than Sam Darnold. That money factors in there too. Atlanta could be a potential dark horse fit there. The Saints are looking for quarterback help. The Texans, who I think go quarterback number one, so keep that in mind. I think Derek Carr is better than Daniel Jones. Tennessee could hit the upgrade button on Daniel, not pay that much more. And if Tampa loses Tom Brady, who here trusts Kyle Trask? Because I certainly do not. I think the Jets and Colts and Commanders are three teams that really make a lot of sense for Derek Carr. Plus, Commanders have Jack Del Rio as the DC. Those two, I think, still get along pretty well. That makes some sense there. I think somebody would trade for Carr unless they play the game of chicken and say, you're going to cut him. You're going to cut him. We'll know in about a month. So where will Derek Carr play next year? It's a quick time frame for Carr and the Raiders to get something done. Carr has a no-trade clause. I suspect he'd waive it. Where will Carr play? Get those predictions in for me in the comment section. Let's hit now the NFL playoff picture and all the various clinching scenarios as we get ready for Week 18 as of filming, still on track to be played, all the games. NFC playoff picture sits like this. The Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, Vikings, and Bucks have all clinched a playoff spot, along with the Giants. That leaves the wild card spot for the number 7 seed currently open, and seeding considerations from the Eagles and really every team but the 4 and the 6. They are all locked in. The Eagles have lost 2 straight games, and what was almost a certainty is now a little bit murky. They get the division and the number 1 seed with a win. Cowboys lose, they lock up the division. They would also get the number 1 seed if the Cowboys and the Niners lose. A lot moving on there. Just win, and they are in. With the number 1 seed, I should say. The Niners, meanwhile, get the number 1 seed with a win and an Eagles loss. Now, if they lose, then they drop down to the 2 seed or maybe lower. The Vikings are probably going to be the 3 seed, but if they win and the Niners lose to the Cardinals. Yeah, doesn't seem very likely, does it? The Vikings would then jump all the way up to the number 2 seed. The Cowboys are at minimum going to be the 5 seed. They could also get the 1 or the 2. They would have the head-to-head tiebreaker for Minnesota. They cannot finish below the number 2 seed. Division with a win and an Eagles loss. Now, they get the 1 seed if they win, the Eagles lose, and the Niners lose, which feels a bit unlikely from that standpoint. 1, 2, and 5 seeds are the options there for Dallas. But when it comes to the coveted number 1 seed, home field advantage of the playoffs and a bye, who gets that number 1 seed? PHI for the Eagles, DAL for the Dallas Cowboys, SF for the 49ers. Get those predictions in. Who gets that number 1 seed? We'll also look now at the number 7 seed. I'm not doing ties. I refuse to acknowledge them. They are silly. Seattle benefits. That's all I'm going to say on it. Seattle gets the 7 seed with a win and a Green Bay Packers loss. The Lions get the 7 seed with a win and a Seahawks loss. So the Lions will know on Sunday Night Football if they are playing for a playoff spot or not. Now, it's Dan Campbell, the Lions. They're going to play hard. I think no matter what, they'd love to keep Green Bay out of it. Packers just need a win. Seattle got a bit of the short of the stick by not playing same time as the Lions, but the NFL wanted some good primetime games. They got Rodgers on there in the end. So who ends up getting then the 7 seed in the NFC? SEA for the Seattle Seahawks, DET for the Lions, and GB for the Green Bay Packers. We will have for you guys right here on Chat Sports the full playoff picture and brackets when the games are finalized, when we know everything. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here, youtube.com/@chatsports. AFC playoff picture, and to just be blunt in light of the Damar Hamlin situation, things are murky because we don't know what's going to happen for the Bills-Bengals game that was suspended and as of now has been suspended for the week between Buffalo and Cincinnati. So the number 1 seed is murky right now. The scenarios here, Bengals can get it if they win out and Bills and Chiefs lose out and whatnot, but it's really Bills-Chiefs here. If there is no Week 17 game resumed between the Bills and Bengals, Chiefs get the 1 seed with a win or Bills lost. Bills get it with a win and a Kansas City loss. If it is rescheduled and played, if the Bills win twice, they're your 1 seed. Or if the Chiefs lose and the Bengals lose a game, I know, tiebreakers are weird, right, folks? Then the Bills would get in. The Chiefs get it with a win and a Buffalo loss. Bengals need a bunch of help, win out. Bills lose, Chiefs lose, which all seems a bit unlikely there, so we focus on the Bills and Chiefs side of it. The Bengals, meanwhile, clinch the AFC North if Week 17 is not rescheduled, or if they beat the Ravens. They're playing Tyler Huntley. I feel pretty good about the Bengals' chances from that standpoint, but it is just a little bit confusing and complicated than it normally is, and it's unfortunate that that's what it has to be. And, of course, again, the big priority is Damar Hamlin. Now on to the AFC South side of things here. Who wins that division? It's a winner-take-all game, Saturday Night Football, JAC for the Jags, TEN for the Titans. As we'll get into, there is a scenario where Jacksonville still gets in, but take care of business and win the South. The Chargers, meanwhile, have some scenarios for the number 5 seed. A win or a Ravens loss. So there is a possibility that when the Chargers kick off, they will know if they are still fighting for the 5 seed, or if the Bengals beat the Ravens, if the Chargers have nothing to play for in that 4th slot. So in theory, we could know the entire AFC playoff matchups before those 425 games kick. Otherwise, we're waiting on LA to win and get the 5, or lose and get the 6. The number 7 seed, complicated. Patriots get it with a win, or losses by Miami and Pittsburgh, and the Jags win to give them the division. Tennessee's out of the wild card race. Dolphins get with a win and a Patriots loss. Pittsburgh somehow gets in with a win, a Dolphins loss, and a Patriots loss, and the Jags can still lose the division and make the playoffs still if Miami, New England, and Pittsburgh all lose. So in the end, who gets the 7 seed? P for the Patriots, S for the Steelers, D for the Dolphins, J for the Jacksonville Jags. Let me know who you think ends up getting that number 7 seed. If you have not already, please make sure you guys are subbed. We will have our playoff picture, bracket videos, matchups, whatnot for you guys soon as possible once we know the final schedules of everything and the matchups. Hit that sub button for me right now.